Welcome back, everyone, to Metal Gear Solid 2 Part 2 for this video game book club. Christian's going to walk us through it. Now, Christian, to end the last episode we had earlier in the week, I asked if this is another part of the demo. The reason I asked that question is because, I don't know, man, this first section to me kind of also felt like another little bit of a standalone mission at times. So I was really confused while going through it, where I was like, is this more pre-release content for this game?
No new bytes
right,
released.
We'll get to it then. I'll pass it over to you to take it away. I definitely felt a little disjointed at times, but yeah, why don't you walk us through it? Let's talk about what's going on in, what's this one called?
Sons of Liberty?
Sons of Liberty? Okay.
Sons of Liberty.
I wanted to say that, but I was like, for some reason, I feel like it's going to be wrong if I say Sons of Liberty. Perfect.
Yeah, so we pick up here right after we left off. So the first cutscene that we had obviously was introducing Raiden as our new protagonist. Mm-hmm. And obviously that was the whole bait and switch that we talked about with the last episode. I do think it bears mentioning now, and it's something that you guys can sort of keep in your mind. But Kojima, obviously, famously, everybody always talks about is that he has been known to either predict world tragedies in some form or fashion in different times of his game development career, unintentionally, whether that is how private military groups might and the war economy might be really bad and uncool for people to have to deal with, or COVID in one example for Death Stranding. And in this one, there is this theme, and it actually comes even outside the game, and I just want it sort of, as the game continues, I think you guys will see it built on, and it actually is kind of crazy for the time that we live in now. But, so there's a commentary throughout this game that happens about misinformation and how it can affect somebody, and the way that, potentially governments or any other people that might be sort of in charge of any sort of messaging anywhere or whatever, can be subject to misinformation, how it's really easy to get swept up in misinformation of any kind and different things, and how easy it is for someone to do that, including, but certainly not limited to, lying about the protagonist of a video game and making fake things to prove to, or think that make people think that one thing is going to be one way and it ends up being another, right? So, which is something that wasn't happening all too much. I mean, it was, right, but not as much as it is pronounced today. But it's something that I think everybody can agree that it's certainly something that we go through, especially with the advent of AI and all this other stuff, a lot today. And so it's just funny that you're like, yep, toss another one on the board. He did it again, and it is ridiculous. But yeah, so we open up here, and this first part is, like I said, after we get done doing some of the initial tutorial stuff with Campbell, and he introduces Raiden. We walk through sort of that little main area that we come up out of the, we swim up, and we walk through the main door, and we see a soldier on the other end of the door who was like sort of knocked out, and he kind of comes to his senses and he starts walking forward. And we call Campbell and we let him know that, hey, we see the first enemy sentry, but he's in like all Russian military gear right now. And Campbell lets him know that he's got to be part of the remnants of the Shadow Moses incident 4 years ago. And they're probably all here as part of the terrorist cell, like for mercenaries and stuff, that because right now they are basically an army without a country backing them or anything like that. So they probably are signed up with the terrorist group, the Sons of the Patriots, that we are here to try to stop, who captured the president. And as we walk into that next room, we see a very familiar scene where all these guards are knocked out, and there is somebody going up an elevator who looks an awful lot like one Mr. Solid Snake that we have come to know. And he heads up the elevator, and Raiden calls Campbell immediately to say, hey, I'm not the only person who's sneaking in here. Like, there's somebody who's clearly doing this right now. All the guards are knocked out in this room, and they just went up the elevator. And Campbell's like, that doesn't make any sense. You should be the only one here, or I'm not aware of anybody else there, but let's use this to your advantage. Before those guards wake up, go to the first security node here to download the map to activate your radar, and it's more tutorial stuff here. But essentially he's saying, hey, use the nanomachines in your body. It'll let you bypass the security that's on this little thing here, and you'll be able to download the map and get going.
Is this where they talk about the skull suit?
No, not yet. So this is
Okay.
so the first thing is this is where he goes, you'll go up to the node and put your hand on it, and then Raiden goes, did you say nerd? And he's like, no, I said node. And then Raiden goes, oh, and then moves on. And here is an instance of we said before that, remember, during this game is that Kojima fell out with his longtime translator during this game.
Yeah.
And whatever. If you go and listen to this line in the original Japanese audio, it hits better because those two words are almost identical in Japanese for nerd and node. I think there's just like an inflection change, and that's it. In English, they're pretty different words, and it would be hard to mishear that if you're, especially somebody who is clearly, not struggling to understand the English language at all. You would hear it come through pretty clearly and be like, but also like Campbell would be like, why would I say nerd? Like, what would that even, like, why would I ever say that, right? So it's just, it was one of those instances that definitely happened throughout this game. But so we go through, download, the radar starts, and this is where we start heading up our elevator, and man, this is basically like a pretty close shot for shot of that first cutscene in Metal Gear Solid 1 where Raiden ditches the submersible stuff, and Campbell's giving us a little background on the terrorist cell, Sons of the Patriots, where he says the leader is claiming to be the Solid Snake. And he's like, but that's impossible because he died 2 years ago in that tanker when he blew it up. Sort of really selling home the fact that that first part that we played, even though we know what happened, again, part of the misinformation stuff, right, is that the story that's getting spun is that Solid Snake, the legendary war hero, decided to go rogue and blow up a tanker, died in the whole thing of it. He takes the fall for it, and now he's somehow resurrected back from the dead, and he's someone is using that name and saying that he's the head of this terrorist cell, and they've kidnapped the president, and it's our job to go in and rescue him. And so after that, there's also a part that comes in, and this actually is a larger thing for the rest of the series, but obviously with them talking about the nanomachines and different things, in how, they turned like soldiers from the last game, like from regular people to basically like more or less like mindless killing machines, that because the nanomachines stop them from feeling anything and they just do what they're supposed to do and all this other stuff. Part of that also means that these weapons are individualized, so they are ID locked. So if you do not match that, whoever that weapon is assigned to, you can't use it. It won't fire. Nothing will happen. So it makes it so that there's no situations where, like, if I'm a soldier and I'm getting into a fight with another soldier and I somehow lose my weapon, it's not going to be able to get used against me. Or in other ways, an armed force would not be able to overthrow whatever sort of occupying like part, or like anybody giving orders or anything like that, because none of the guns work, because you can't do that unless you actually have guns that are tied to yourself. And so Campbell actually makes a comment to Raiden in that first beginning part before the elevator, where he says, you'll have to find weapons that have not went through the ID process so that you can use them. But yeah, so we come up the elevator here, and Campbell decides that what he's going to do is also let us know that our save operator, or the mission analyst, is our girlfriend, Rose, who this is wildly unprofessional, pretty uncool for Campbell to do this, and Raiden is rightfully pissed off and is like, "What are you doing? Also, Rose, you shouldn't be here." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "Look, I have my own reasons for doing this. VR missions." Now, I should also mention this VR missions thing that Raiden keeps talking about, the 300 missions that he did in VR. That is a tie-in. So in between these two games, there was a second edition of Metal Gear Solid released, original, called Metal Gear Solid VR Missions. And it was essentially like 300 missions that were just like short, different things. It was like, make it through this room undetected. Okay, mission 1. Not kill everybody in this room without being seen. Mission 2. Like that kind of stuff, right? Don't get hit by whatever obstacles.
That should never have been allowed to be 300 missions.
Hey, look. It is what it is. But that's why there was... Devil May Cry had like 1,000 floors in a Bloody Palace mode. It's a lot. It's just games back then did those things. But yeah, so the lore is that the person you were playing as in that was not Solid Snake, but you were actually Raiden trading for this thing, right? So that's the 300 missions that he's talking about. But so Campbell's like, that doesn't actually prepare you for the real thing. I have my own reasons for doing this. Also, the other mission analyst that was supposed to do this mission got into an accident, so there's nothing we can do. You're stuck with Rose. And throughout, despite Raiden's protesting, like I said, I feel like is totally justified. He clearly has no say in this matter, and so it's over, and Rose is the person that we save with now. And when you go, she turns over to the save channel to let you save your game for the first time, and she asks you if you know what the date is. You say April 30th, and she goes, "Okay, do you know why that's important?" And he's like, "No." She's like, "Okay, well, I'll keep asking till I get the answer." And he's like, "Okay." She's like, "All right, bye." And then that's it. She hangs up, and you're like, "Okay, sounds great." Blah blah blah. And as we get to the top and we start heading into what would be, we're told that the president is somewhere around Strut B, we believe, and so that's where we're heading. We're on the roof right now of Strut A. We're heading down, and when we get up, or when we're heading towards that, as soon as we get into this next section, we walk into Strut A. It gives us a little brief tutorial on how to distract guards, like by knocking on a wall, doing anything like that, and getting the node there to download the data for Strut A. Once we walk out, we're going to Strut B, and we're on the bridge from A to B, and so we get onto that, and it introduces hanging mode, where you can jump off the side of a railing and then shimmy across so that people can't see you. Pull yourself up, get into Strut B, and as soon as we get into B, we are met with a similar sight that we've had in the first game, right? Where like when we first met Gray Fox and he had murdered all those people in there. Similar vibe here. Everybody is murdered. There's blood everywhere. And as soon as we walk into the room that we hear a bunch of fighting going on in, we are introduced to our first member of Dead Cell, which we will get introduced to. That name will get introduced to us in a little bit here. But this character's name is Vamp. Whether this means anything right now or not, this is my least favorite character that Kojima has probably ever came up with. I'm not counting characters in 5, so Quiet obviously is the worst one he's ever done. Vamp is a close second, in my opinion. He's just awful.
He's not that bad.
I think that he's just totally lame, but that's me.
When did this game come out?
Metal Gear Solid 2?
2001. So
yeah.
I feel like, I thought Vamp, I don't know anything about him yet because we were just introduced to him. I rolled my eyes out of my head when he did the jump over the thing, and I was like, well, that's Prime Matrix. Matrix came out in 99. This came out in 2001.
Mm-hmm. And we all know how Kojima feels about action movies. Let me just tell you, you say that you don't know anything about Vamp. I'm going to just spoil it. You do know everything about Vamp.
Is he a real vampire, or is he an edgelord?
So
Hand soldier,
I will
probably.
not get that part will get explained later, but there is a reason that he was taking the blood out of nanomachine filled soldiers. Let's just say that.
It was literally like he did that jump over the awning and he lands behind you, kind of like looks at you as he walks sideways. And I was just like, oh gosh,
Yeah, it just sucks. I hate Vamp so much. He's a completely one note character that just, oh man. Well, yeah, we'll talk about it later, potentially in a different game. So we get introduced to Vamp, and right when he basically, you see all of his showcases. He's very fast. He's extremely skilled with knives, and he murders a whole room full of soldiers. And he's about to get the drop on us when a surviving soldier of SEAL Team 10 tells us to get down really fast, and he shoots and gets Vamp away from us. Vamp then gets the drop on that guy, cuts him, and goes to smell his blood, and he recognizes him some way, and says, you must be, and then he goes, never mind, and then he goes and calls somebody and says, hey, I gotta tell you something. I just found somebody. You're not gonna believe who I just found. Like, I'm gonna come meet you. So he leaves. Raiden goes and helps this guy up and gets him all, set, and he is introduced to us as Iroquois Pliskin.
Yes, such a dumb name.
Which, I mean, that is like, he's straight up Snake Plissken now. Like, that's just who he is.
And he looks, so to Preston's point, he looks an awful lot like Snake, and is voiced also by David Hayter, who is the voice of Solid Snake. So from the rest of this playthrough, I will be calling him not Snake. That is what his name will be.
Wait a minute, is he? But he is Snake.
He's probably most likely
Pliskin.
Snake, yeah.
And so his name is not Snake. Definitely not Snake.
What you're about to say here, you're gonna tell us their little conversation here. This was the moment, and I think it's because like the most dialogue we've had, and we start to get into Raiden's backstory. Raiden's voice really started to grate on me.
I'm not enjoying it. Yeah.
Okay. So
I sent in
not
chat.
just you.
I think it's chat just because I thought it was worth it.
It's also, I will say, just so that you guys are clear,
click the link I shared in chat. That's his voice actor.
That's a feeling that everybody has, but it's by design. So
okay.
Raiden has a character development. Preston, you played Revengeance, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
You're spoiled a little bit on, and Alex, you've seen parts of Revengeance too.
Yeah.
So you're spoiled a little bit. This version of Raiden is not the version of Raiden that comes about later in Metal Gear Solid's history. So, no,
his voice actor looks incredible. The hair is like up to here.
Yeah, he is supposed to be like annoying and that whole like it's
nailed it.
Yeah,
he did nail it. It was
because there's a moment coming in the future that Raiden goes from being annoying to not annoying, but there's character growth that happens there that leads him into what we'll see in Metal Gear Solid 4, and then obviously Revengeance, where he's sick as fuck, some would say. So that does not happen overnight. But we get into the first conversation that we have with Pliskin here, or not Snake, and he... basically, we go back and forth with him about the efficacy of our training and whether or not we're actually ready for this mission, and different things about, new school versus old school soldier training.
They did this weird thing in this too, where during the montage of he's like, "Oh, I did all the VR missions because I'm, I wasn't field ops or whatever." They did this weird like some CG, some real life video interspliced.
Well, it wasn't there's only one real life part. So there's the part where Pliskin is like, "Oh, if you are from the 21st Reg or whatever the fuck he calls it, and he says, you were the IT operations, like you were those people that never actually saw real battle stuff, right? And so that shows that. Everything after that is footage from Metal Gear Solid VR missions. So that is all footage from that game, and all of that stuff to be like, so that way when people were playing, you're like, oh, like it, ties it all together for them.
Cool.
But in the middle of them going back and forth and arguing about this, they start. We hear over the radio that the other SEAL team, the not dead one, Team B, is on their way to secure the president. They're making their way. They're near Strut F, I think is whatever it says at that point. And we need to start. We're going to start moving that way. The Campbell calls us and says, "Hey, you got to get over there. Like, we got to move it." Pliskin says that he'll stay in contact and try to help you. He gives you his frequency, and there's a little Easter egg here where he says he just needs a second to rest and get some of his blood back because he almost passes out talking to you. And if you call him at any point while you're still in that room before you get out, it's just Snake sleeping on an open line. Or Snake, I should say.
Did you accidentally aim, or did anyone aim their gun at him?
No.
Because he does go boom, and he turns around and he gets like a gun.
Yeah,
and
yes.
Like, you better try it, son, or something like that. Yeah, he's got like a little clip for it.
Amazing.
Yes.
I was looking around for something and I accidentally aimed at him. He's like, "Are you going to try it?" I'm like, "Oh shit, okay."
Yeah, that's funny. But yes, so on our way out, we make our way through this next section here. And we see yet another SEAL team getting absolutely smoked by the next member of Dead Cell. This is where Dead Cell actually gets introduced to us. So right as we're on our way out, Pliskin sort of gives us the lowdown on this, where he's saying there's a second terrorist cell here that's separate from the Sons of the Patriots called Dead Cell. And they are here as lunatic fringe operators that are here for, no one knows actually why they're here for something, and they're also trying to solve that problem while also rescuing the hostages and rescuing the president. And Vamp was the first person that we meet here, and so he gives us the lowdown on Vamp, and he says that they were all part of a special operations group by the former president George Sears, who we'll remember is the president was in Metal Gear Solid 1, and we were dealing with all of that stuff there. So this was that when he left office, that team was disbanded, and so now they're part of this lunatic fringe sort of terrorist cell, who are claiming to be led by Solid Snake, who obviously Pliskin doubles down and says he was, he died 2 years ago when he blew up that tanker.
And you said, "How do you know, Pliskin? You weren't there."
No, well, everybody knows.
Yeah, that was all
the news. Yeah, the news said that it was the legendary Solid Snake hero that did this, and he turned around and blew up the tanker. Yeah.
So Pliskin just believes anything he hears on the news.
I think someone's trying to.
Well, they said that they positively ID'd the body, and then he got buried somewhere.
I didn't see it, so I don't believe him.
Hey,
it's true.
Maybe that's
Never
a way to
believe
be.
it till I see it.
So as we're introduced to Dead Cell, this is where oh shit, what's her name? Luck or whatever is there, right? And
no, when we make our way to the bridge, that's when Fortune shows up. Yeah.
Can I say it is some of the best smooth jazz going on while she's
everything
there.
about this scene is just like screaming, "Preston, we want you to like this game. Please like this game."
But yeah, it is. So Fortune's character gets introduced while like I said, the next SEAL team is getting smoked. Her ability is not unlike I know a character that was like this in that Deadpool movie.
Domino.
Where it's just unbelievable luck that just happens all the time, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I was, me, my brain of how like this shouldn't work, which it's not.
You like Marvel superheroes, so this doesn't even make any sense.
So it does, right? So Domino actually creates this like little like field of luck around her, so they like inside of it is lucky. This woman maybe she does the same thing, but on the outside she's like,
It certainly seems like it, doesn't it?
yeah, it does, but from the outside she's just screaming like, kill me,
Well, I
right?
think
Like
that happens.
essentially.
That-
So
we don't know the
so-
answer, but I'm assuming that someone has implanted something into her that keeps her from dying, which means like it deflects bullets and
Yeah.
makes them like divert from her. But we don't. know.
That's what I would assume, because at first I'm like, well, if she's doing this,
She's
then
not
it's kind of
doing it.
it doesn't
She
make any
wants to
sense,
die.
because like she
Yeah.
wants to die, but she can't die. So I was like, that's weird, but that's what I assumed too. I was like,
Checks
maybe
out for Kojima
she's-
game, man.
She doesn't. I know. Maybe she.
I don't
doesn't
think it's
control
any
it.
more weird than any of the stuff that
Yeah.
you guys like.
Hey, Fortune's got my number. Okay, let's not get it twisted.
Yeah, I bet. No, that I believe. That's I think a fact for sure.
That is fact.
That is a Preston character right there. I'm just saying I don't think it's any farther off base than
No.
a super nano machined out
Vamp?
vampire that we just saw
Yeah.
before. Yeah, like come on, it's or
Oh,
any
no.
of the characters that we like. It's not even any different than
Psycho
fucking
Mantis.
Psycho Mantis. Thank you.
No. Compared to Kojima, I completely agree. But
That's what I mean.
was
Is
just
in
throwing-
this universe, I think
Yes.
she is not as weird
No.
as that. Yeah.
Not at all. I was just trying to figure out what her deal was, because she
don't
couldn't
know.
get killed.
All we
But
know is
she
that
acts like-
Snake.
But she acts like she wants to die.
Not Snake.
Yeah.
right.
Not
So,
Snake. Yeah. No. Well, in this, so hold on. So yeah, we're gonna get there because that part of that is that
Sure.
she doesn't really have her big like I want to die thing until a little bit later. But in this particular instance, she is goading these people to try to shoot at her and see what they can do. And one of them goes to throw a grenade at her, and they pull the pin, throw the grenade, and then as soon as the grenade lands, it lands inert and can't do anything. She then takes this fucking. I actually agree with her design is fucking
Arc cannon.
amazing.
She's a fucking
Yeah, but
arc
she has a
cannon.
fucking rail gun.
Yeah.
And she blows away this whole team, then blows away the bridge and says, fuck you later. And Vamp actually lands next to her and is like, it calls her queen, which is, I'm sure Preston was like, you're damn right.
Yes, queen.
But he lands next to her and lets her know that he's pretty sure he has found Snake. And he's here. The person you've been searching for is here. And then it's left at that. They go on to go more towards their ultimate sort of goal there, which one of the things being obviously Vamp took out of that room was he took the briefcase that was attached to somebody's arm, which was part of a nuclear detonation device, also called the football. Like it's that based on the real thing. So they leave and they start to move forward with whatever their goal is. And from there, we move into the next section after, Raiden gives Campbell basically goes, hey, don't worry about all that stuff right now. Your main goal is to save the president. So you need to find a way to get into that main area and go, be with find the president and get out of there. So we move our way into the next sector and, or next, strut. And when we get in there, we make our way through this little hallway. We hear somebody tinkering around in one of these rooms. Walk up, and we are met with the next character, and some big old cutscenes here. But we are met with Peter Stillman, and we have a giant conversation with him and Not Snake, who shows up about one of the final member of, the second to last final member of Dead Cell, Fat Man, and how this guy sort of enlists our help and asks if we, first asks if we were part of the SEAL team and all these different things, trying to, figure out who we are. But he basically lets us know that he needs help defusing all of these different. He was brought in because they're pretty sure that Fat Man has set bombs all along the big shell to collapse it and obviously release all the toxins and everything like that into the water from the tanker incident from before. And it would cause a huge environmental issue, all that stuff, right? So we get through there, we start talking to him, and we come up with a plan about how we're going to help him defuse these bombs, because Raiden and Not Snake both convince him that they need to let them help because he's too much of a liability. He can barely walk, and it would just be quicker if, they do it. So Not Snake says that what he'll do is he'll go handle the tanker, like, or the side B, and that we will deal with side A. And we will, sort of tag team this whole thing and try to get all 12 bombs, because there's one bomb on each strut, more or less. And so Not Snake leaves, and Peter Stillman gives us... Not Snake actually leaves here in a really ridiculous way, where he says... It's a old British army saying, it's those who dare, or he who does not dare dies, or something along those lines. Like, it's an old special forces saying for the British. And then at the end, as he's leaving, he goes Semper Fi, and he leaves. Both of which are not things that a U.S. Navy SEAL would say. One is a Marine saying, and one is a British Special Forces. And Ryden does not pick up on this, obviously, but Peter Stillman sure did, and he goes, I'm gonna be honest with you, that guy's not with the Navy SEAls. I don't know who that is, but it's not one of them.
It would be funnier if every time he left the room, he just went, Not Snake.
Yeah.
Like, backed out.
And Ryden goes, well, do you think he's with Dead Cell? And Peter's like, no, definitely not. If anything, you're probably with Dead Cell, but that dude, he's not with them, but he's certainly not who he says he is, but it doesn't really matter, because you guys are our only options to diffuse this stuff.
Don't you think, unless it's a purposeful thing, that is a weird, like, Not Snake, if he had a past life that we don't know about, would know those things? Or is he purposely trying to be obtuse, to be like, I'm not Navy SEAL?
I think that with the way Kojima is about some of this stuff, it'll come up later, but there is almost certainly a purpose for Snake being that bumbling, whether he believes it's to throw somebody off the trail or, whatever, right? Like, either way. Or maybe lead them into a different idea, like, I'm trying to leave breadcrumbs for somebody to follow, like that kind of stuff. Who knows? We'll get there. But so this is actually the main bulk of this playthrough part, right? So once we get through this, it is us going around each strut and diffusing all these bombs. We have a bomb sensor that puts a little yellow powder like thing on our radar to let us know where the bomb is at in some sort of area around there. And then it's our job to sort of figure it out, find it, diffuse it. Because Fat Man puts a little bit of his cologne in each bomb as like a signature that he does. And Stillman basically is one of the best bomb diffusers in the business. Snake even actually like ribs Ryden, being like, dude, you're talking to the bomb disposal guy, like the guy who wrote the book on this shit. And he's like, yeah, and I taught everything I knew to a mentally ill psychopath, and I feel really bad about it now, because that clearly has blown up in my fucking face. So, help me figure this out, more or less. And he actually gives like backstory on like how, it's this whole thing, like he retired from doing this, but he came back in to stop this, specifically because it was somebody that he taught, because he was in the middle of trying to defuse a bomb in a church. It went south and everybody died, is, what he says. So we, start moving forward with that, that plan, and we're defusing all these bombs. About halfway through, so no, a little bit more than that. It's when there's 2 bombs left, I believe, or maybe just 1, but I believe it's 2 when 2 bombs are left. As you're defusing all these bombs, you keep getting calls from both Not Snake and Peter, both saying like, and it's mostly Peter being like, this isn't adding up. Like, Fat Man would not do this. Like, these bombs are all in places where it actually wouldn't do anything. Like, he even goes as far to say like it's at this point all of these would just be a waste of explosives. Like, it potentially would kill people that were around or whatever, but it wouldn't actually do anything to the structural integrity of Big Shell at all. It would just blow different pieces of it up, and that's it. And so he's like, there's got to be something else going on here. Like, I need to figure this out. And so he sort of lets us in on the bit that he was actually never he was never injured before at all. He fucked up that bomb defusal, killed all those people, and felt like it was easier to live with the shame of that if he was convincing everybody that he was, you know, physically hurt during that incident or whatever. And so he has this whole limp thing going on and that all of that nonsense. And he basically is like, I need to make this right. I'm gonna go out there. And he was like, not Snake ends up confirming one of his suspicions during this call that there is actually a massive amount of explosives filled at the bottom of one of the struts each that would bring down like the entire big shell, basically. And so during this part, or during that conversation, he lets us know that they are not those explosives are not detectable by, like, they're not using Fat Man's
Cologne.
signature calling card or whatever. It's a scentless like thing that it's just a thing of C4 that you would have to just like know what you're looking for more or less. But he does say that you can still use the old school sensor to be able to get close to it, but he's like, I left one in the pantry, like where we were hiding, so go get it, and then you need to, like go look for the other ones. So we disable the bomb on the way there, get back to the pantry, grab that sensor, and then as soon as we grab that sensor, Peter calls us and he's like, hey, I'm over here, and I know Not Snake was working on the last explosive over there, but I'm down the bottom of this strut, and I fucked up. Like, I got too close to this thing, it's about to go off. Like, I can minimize the blast a little bit, but it's still going to cause, like, damage. And he was like, Not Snake, you got 30 seconds. Like, you've got to get out of here. And he basically is like, Raiden, yours is such a... He's like, you have 400 seconds, more or less, to get to that strut and defuse it. Please hurry. And then, boom, explodes, and he dies. And when that happens, we lose contact with Not Snake, who was, trying to escape from there before that blew up. And from right then, we have our mission is that we need to hurry up and get back to Strut A to be able to go down to more where we started the game. Like, it even shows, like, there's an elevator that will take you down. It was like, oh, that's where we were at originally. So we make our way there. And find the explosives that are in the in that little that first main area that we come out of the pool in. Defuse that, and as soon as we get done doing that, we get a call from Campbell that lets us know that Fat Man is calling for us directly as somebody who fucked up all of their plans, or all of his plans, I should say, and that it is you need to get up there, and he's calling for you by name, and he's going to set another explosive at the top of the helipad or whatever that will cause a bunch of damage or whatever, so you need to get up there and go deal with him. This will lead us into, obviously, like, the little final part here, so I'll just pause here first. At this moment, after we've done, all that exploring around that first area of Big Shell, and then defusing all those bombs and whatever, obviously there's a ton of gameplay stuff in there. We're sneaking around, knocking out guards. If you found the M9, you can just stun people and shoot people with the stun gun, like we were doing in the tanker level. Otherwise, you obviously get your first gun from Not Snake. It has no suppressor on it until you can find one near where you found the M9, but you can either find that suppressor and then use that to just kill people, or you can just either choke people out, shoot them with a loud gun, and fight however you want to deal with these situations. But how are you guys feeling at this point?
Feeling good. I was playing through it's. The voice was a little off-putting to me, but like you said, I mean, I know where it goes in Revengeance, so I know that there is going to be character development that leads up into that. But right now it's just kind of, I mean, wet behind the ears, kind of, green guy, just as far as like he's never been into the field.
Literally his first mission.
And he's done 300 VR missions, so he knows what he's doing to a point. But we're literally just getting little bits and pieces of this world. It's surprising how small this area seems. There are a couple levels here and there for each of the individual nodes, but it's all kind of the same Z. So you got like one little hallway or bridge that goes in between all of them, but other than that, it's like little just rooms here and there. A couple times I was having a hard time finding some of those bombs. The first bomb I found, it pulls up the coolant thing. It kind of aims towards it, but I don't know what button to press because it's not the shoot button. It's not any of these other buttons. You have to push forward.
It does say it on the description.
It does, but I'm not reading fucking shit. It's fine. But I figured, if you're pulling the trigger on something, you'd be using one of those action buttons that you've been using this entire game. But no, you push forward on the stick, and I did end up like looking at the description and finding out. But I'm like, really, and then I'm sitting there trying to get this one. I'm like, it's not doing anything. Like I'm trying to hitting it. Okay, that didn't work. I'm pulling it down for a little bit, doesn't work, and just. You gotta hold it down for even longer. I didn't figure that out until I looked at the guide. I'm like, finally, fuck it, figure it out. Like, I need to know what to do with this bomb.
He shows you in the cutscene though, like when he's telling you, he sprays it that whole time, and you watch the lights change from green to yellow to red, and then it beeps at you.
Yeah, but I figured you press the button and just do it. But I mean, or like I'm leaving a little bit. Like no, I didn't assume it would take like as long as it took, and there wasn't like it did. Maybe the angle I was sitting looking at the bomb to where I didn't see the light. Who knows what my issue was? Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously Force is very cool. I don't hate Vamp. We'll talk about when we get there, but Fat Man, I'm not the biggest fan of. But yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. It's been a while since I played it, so it's kind of making me forget a couple things here and there. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm not hating it. I am playing on like one of the easiest settings, so I don't have to touch any of those computers to do my radar. It's just because it kept on telling me like, hey, hit the computer to do the radar. I go to the computer and it's just like the start screen, like a pause menu, like. Okay, am I supposed to be doing something here? And then when I was looking up one of the strategy guides for like something I was trying to find, I can't remember what it was, one of the bombs or something. I see it and he goes up to the computer, like downloads, and then now you got the radar. I'm like, because I'm on easy, I don't have to do all this. Okay. So overall, I'm enjoying it. It's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, same. After the last game, when you realize like nothing carries over or anything like that, I just played this one on easy too. The last one I played on normal. So yeah,
you guys are just doing regular easy, right? Because there's very easy also. You guys are just doing regular easy.
I'm doing regular easy. There's a story mode below that.
I think I'm doing very easy. I think that's what I'm doing.
Okay. I'm just doing easy then, because yeah, there's a story like above it or below it. You know what I mean? Whatever. Yeah, I thought it was fine. For a while, the reason I kind of asked, was this part of a pre-release or whatever, or like other content, because for a long time in this first portion, before you got to the part where you actually had to defuse bombs and find them out, I just felt like nothing was happening, except through the cut scenes, and like I know
you find the bomb, like the bomb thing happens almost immediately. Like you only get 2 scenes. Like you get the Vamp scene, you walk out that door, you get the Fortune scene, you walk in the next door, and then
it's
the bomb
like
scene.
30 minutes of gameplay.
No, it's probably like 20 minutes of cutscene, but like gameplay is like maybe less than 5 minutes. You're just walking forward.
That's what I mean, but it's like 30 minutes or so like into this play session, and I'm like, man, this just feels like, I don't know, it was taking longer to get into than the first one to me. And I was like, I just feel like there's so little happening, and not to say like there was stuff in the story happening, so not to say it was bad by any means, but like, yeah, just the amount of time like I was actively doing something, it just was so little. I thought, Kojima being Kojima, there are little bits, like every little part has its own goofiness. So when he's like talking about the suit that he's wearing, and he's like, it's the skull suit, it's super tight. It was like, it's so tight to your body, and Ryan's like, oh god, like it's so tight around my abdomen, I can't breathe and I can't move. And they're like, yeah, that's the purpose. It's so tight around you, it protects your internal organs. And then he's like, it's the skull suit, makes sense. And I'm like, sure, whatever.
To be fair, when he says makes sense, is zooming on the face, and it's very skull-like.
Yeah, on the face, I know. And it's like, okay, Kojima, whatever. And same with Fat Man, which we'll see in a bit. Like, I didn't not like Vamp because we haven't done much with him yet. But like I said, as soon as I saw him, I just rolled my fucking eyes at the way he acted. Fortune was cool. She was fine as an enemy. And then, like, you get to Fat Man, and it's like, oh, we have a normal guy that looks normal, right? As far as, like, bomb expert, wearing bomb gear, totally get it. And then what can we do to make him Kojima? Put him on fucking roller skates.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet, but
I
yes.
know. I know. So like every little bit has its own Kojima-ness to it, which is goofy. But yeah, overall it's been fine. It took a long time to feel like I was playing this game, right? Because it's
just build up. And I think the whole thing with us doing Tanker first is that we had that taste of like Snake doing the thing that we were doing the first one, and now 3 hours into it, now we got a new character. It's kind of starting back up again, and it's like, okay, we kind of just did this, but we're also playing these are back to back too. So
yeah.
Okay. So the other thing that I heard to mention is when you go to the heliport and you go to defuse the bomb, there's a scene actually that you get with a character from the Tanker mission that Raiden actually ends up having to call Campbell about. We see a character that we fought in the Tanker mission. Olga is there.
Yep.
And Raiden goes to pull a gun on her, and he's like, "Are you with the terrorists?" Whatever. She's like, "What a rude thing to say!" And then she backflips off the side of a thing and is like, "Peace, later, idiot." And she pieces out. So that's also at play here from the leading back to that Tanker mission. But yeah, so as soon as we walk into this next room, the elevator comes down, and we are not greeted with Fat Man. We are greeted with Fortune. And she believes that we are the person that killed her father, and that she has been waiting for us to either kill him or kill the person who killed her father, or her die. And this is the part where, Alex, to your point, this is where she goes on her whole kill me fucking thing.
She wasn't screaming it when we met her earlier. She's more of just like, who's going to be able to end me today? Like, it's subtle, but yes.
She's yelling it here. She
definitely
wants,
cray. She wants
as you would say.
She wants it to end.
And so she starts blowing up the room, shooting at different things, and your only option here, you can try to shoot at her, but you see it happen just like it did in the cutscene, is that the bullets just go right around her. There's nothing anybody can do. And so your option here is to survive up until Campbell calls you, and then he's like, yo, Fat Man is pissed that you're taking too long, and he's also gone rogue from the other Dead Cell terrorists. He plans on just blowing this whole motherfucker up. Like, he's going to take everybody out if you don't hurry up and get up there. And Raiden's like, I'm not the time for this. Like, and is arguing with Campbell, basically being like, what the fuck do you want me to do? Like, I'm in the middle of something here. And in this moment, Vamp comes down to let Fortune know about what's happening, and how they need to go and deal with Fat Man, more or less, because it would put the rest of their plans at jeopardy. And as soon as she says that she will be the one to go deal with him, Raiden flips around the corner and is like, I got you. And he goes to shoot, and the bullet curves around Fortune and fucking hits Vamp right in the forehead. And he just goes like, bleh, and falls over. And she's like, you son of a bitch, like it was supposed to be me, blah, blah, blah. But then she figures out that he's actually not who she's looking for, the person who killed her father or anything like that. So clearly, we as the player know, because it's clear that not Snake was the person that Vamp went and told her about. Not Snake must have killed her father in some form or fashion. And so, now that sort of lets us sort of piece together, like, well, is that a character that we already know? Or is it not, like, was it somebody from his past, like maybe the NES games, right? Like, is it maybe somebody from there? But obviously, we as the player can start to piece together, like, oh, are we, like, maybe we killed your dad? Because the only person that we know that we've killed for sure is either one, obviously Psycho Mantis, who certainly he did not have children, or Vulcan Raven. So who knows, right? Like we don't know. Or somebody else in the NES games. But yeah, so from that, she says fuck off, basically, like, you're not who I thought you were, so I'm no longer interested in you, like, fuck off, more or less. And Raiden goes to go up to go deal with Fat Man, and as we are leaving, we are left with a cutscene that Vamp has come back and has recovered from being shot right in his head. That we will find out more about that later. He's a vampire.
You can't kill a vampire by shooting in the head, Christian.
I wonder, is he giving... Is he, is he taking the nano blood from other people, and maybe he's just giving himself micro blood transfusions to get rid of his normal blood and just...
We will get there. Yeah. We promise you will know everything about Vamp.
You almost said more than you want to know.
Yeah. So, as we come to, we get up to the top of the elevator here and make our way to, we get called by Campbell. We have obviously the time limit starts again, and we have to make our way to the heliport on Strut E, where we were defusing one of the bombs before, and where we saw Olga, and that is where Fat Man is waiting for us. So we make our way to there. Obviously, we're pretty familiar with the layout of this section of Big Shell by now, so we just hoof it right there really quick. Get over there, and we have our boss fight with Fat Man. And this part here, so this fight, I don't know how it went for you guys on easy, but there's like a really easy way to do this fight, and then there's the normal way to do this fight. And on easy, I'm not sure if the same, exploit works or the same trick or whatever. But what you can do is, obviously, for somebody who's played the game, Fat Man starts on that same side every single time. So he comes running at you right from the right on these, like Alex was saying, on the rollerblades here. You can, if you have a Claymore in your inventory, you can do Raiden's cartwheel right to the right, put a Claymore down, Fat Man will run right into it, it will blow him back and do a fuck ton of damage, and you then shoot him in the head twice while he's laying down there. He'll hop up one more time, you turn around, shoot him again to knock him down, shoot him 2 more times. That's his health bar gone because of the Claymore. You then run over to bomb 1, defuse it, run over to bomb 2, defuse it, and that's it. That's the fight. The normal way to do this is, and he actually sort of explains this during, and I should probably go over his little monologue. You have a monologue where he basically says the whole reason he was doing this is to get one over on his old teacher and sort of also gain notoriety as a fucking, like, he's fascinated with all of the people that when they bomb something, their name is etched in history. He'll have a legacy. That's what he wants. He's doing all of this for that. And he'll be known as the person that not only took down, the greatest bomb diffuser of all time, but also the one that blew up Big Shell and caused this massive disaster, right? And his ending thing right before the fight is that he tells Raiden, he goes, he's like, I'm going to have a legacy and you won't. And the best part is that, or the worst part is that you won't even be able to read all the news stories they're going to have about me, like, once I get done doing this. And Raiden basically tells him, get fucked, Peter was way cooler than you. And that sends Fat Man over the edge, and he's like, oh, I'm going to, that's it, I'm going to kill you. And so the gimmick here is he's wearing like a big bulletproof bomb vest, right? So you have to try to find ways to knock him down so that you can shoot him in his head, either with your stun gun or your regular gun, and go through it like that. And as he's doing that, he will be roller skating away from you, like trying to get away in or out. And when he does that, he also has bombs that he's placing all around the top of this helipad that you have to try to defuse while you're also trying to fight him. And I think each bomb has like a 45-second timer, I think is what it is. So from when he places it and counts them out, that's when a 45-second timer starts on that. And so that's really the fight, though, is it's just rinse repeat. You just shoot him, do some damage, run around, defuse some bombs, shoot him, do some damage, defuse some bombs, and just keep going with that. And the difficult part really becomes the bomb defusal part, because there's times where he will toss one somewhere and it's not immediately apparent to you where it is on any of these stacks of military equipment, like ammunition and everything else that will ignite when he presses it. Sometimes it's on like one of the different sides of that thing, or sometimes it's underneath and you have to like crawl under and spray it and then keep going, right? Again, I'm sure it's the same on easy. I just don't know if it's the same case.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so we go through this fight, we kill him, and we give him one more final fuck you, you suck. But he lets us know that he has a little treat for us, and Saul's that he's hit a second bomb, and I've already pressed the detonator, it's already going off, and you have 2 minutes to find it, or whatever it is. And all we have to do is try to figure out where that is. And if we are still using the sensor, we see, this is sort of like a little red herring thing, but we see that the same sensor is going off like right around his body, right? And you go, well, it's probably going off because it's the thing that he wears, right? But if you pick him up and move his body, you will find the bomb he hid it underneath him the whole time. And so you spray it, diffuse it, and then that's the end of the fight. And the final part there is exactly where we said we were going to stop last time, where Campbell gives us a call that congratulations, you've done that. The terrorists were pissed that you stopped them though, and they've killed one of the hostages. And so you have to hurry up and get to the president, Raiden protests a little bit, and he's like, well, what about all the other hostages? And he's like, your priority is the president. Like, you're not going to be able to save all of them, and you never were. So just get to the president as fast as you can. You need to find a way to the main core structure, Core 1. You need to find your way into there. And that is where we saved. I don't know if you guys went further than that, but that was where we were supposed to. Great, cool. So that is where we stopped. So before I talk about where we're going to play next, what were you guys' final thoughts here?
Yeah. My general final
on more
thought,
or less the intro to the game.
Yeah, the whole game so far. I mean, it is officially the first part of this game compared to the last
tanker
one we
mission,
did, right? The tanker. Yeah. So it looks good. It looks smooth. I feel like Raiden is easier to control than Snake, which would make sense, right? When you're coming to a new generation of console. I didn't find myself getting as caught on walls and other stuff. So just the general play was a little bit better. I like some of the characters. In general, like I said, Fortune is kind of cool. Just the Fat Man cracked me up because
why does he gotta have rollerblades?
Why is he gotta have my brain
reason.
again?
He's on a place that he's on this weird in the middle of nowhere oil tanker. It's like, why would you even have those here?
Yeah, I mean, half of these gangplanks are probably like the see-through little metal, and you're not rollerblading on that. But
I have no reason to believe this, but Preston, some of the ways that he moves and some of his little quips and stuff, it really feels like Kojima played Jet Set Radio and was like, I just want it. Like the rollerblades even sound.
It's like a huge baggy. It's body armor, but it looks like a big baggy clothes that someone would wear.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
I see that.
I just made myself giggle because I just pictured Fat Bastard from Austin Powers on roller skates just skating around, and that's what I picture this guy doing, and it's so ridiculous.
It wouldn't have been as interesting if it was just a large man who did bombs.
No, it would have been fine. It wouldn't have been as Kojima. It would have just been a big
Kojima level of interesting if they did not have some type of quirk like rollerblade.
Yeah.
But that's what cracks me up too, because the rollerblading quirk probably wasn't even the best thing pitched in that room, and he was like, nah, just give him rollerblades. And they're like, but we could do other stuff that would make it pretty cool and dynamic. Like, just
give him a jetpack. You can give him this thing or that thing. He's like, no,
just give him rollerblades.
Okay, all right.
So goofy. But yeah, so far it's fine. It's interesting. Kojima does this weird balance of creating some stakes because you're trying to save the president. And even in the first game, there's these overarching stakes against the bad stuff that could happen in the world with like Metal Gear, right? And that's what kind of we're doing, what we did with Tanker and stuff. But at the same time, the general stakes in his games are so small because everything happening here happens on this tanker that at the end of the, or not this tanker, but this oil rig. But at the end of the day, if it goes down, like it goes down.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, it is, but like, there's just some hostages and stuff on. It's not the biggest disaster you could have. Is all I'm saying. So like,
well, but it's not just the hostages though. It's the fact that there's like, it's there's that, but then there's also like all of the environmental stuff that happens. Like,
if they were to let that thing go, it would be the worst catastrophe. Yeah,
and a bunch of nuclear waste all of a sudden irradiates a bunch of water around us. Like, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, it is. You're right, and I didn't think about that. I didn't remember that, but like, it's just. I don't know. I think he does an interesting thing. At like, there's a lot of stakes in a small little.
I think his interesting
area,
thing that he does with those stakes is that it's all of these things that it's all of these incidents that, especially in this game with the whole theme of trying to cover things up and misinformation and all that other stuff. It's all of these stakes that are wrapped in an incident that no one is supposed to know about, and everything you do is to try to stop somebody. Or stop anything from anybody finding out about it.
Yeah, my point there is it's less about like the importance of what you're doing and more you can just blatantly see the influence of 80s and 90s movies, right? Like,
well, that's a fact.
Thinking about like Air Force One, right? You have all these giant stakes of terrorists, but it takes place on like Air Force One, right? And that's what it like you can just see the influence that he keeps everything contained to a pretty small area, and there's a lot going on in the small. There's 2 different terrorist organizations. There's hostages you have to deal with. There's boss fights going on, bomb defusal in the small area. That's very 90s action movie, right? All your Steven Seagal movies, ones that take place on a submarine, and there's all this. So it's just the influence is apparent. But yeah, so far it's fine. I like it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, it's fine. Like, it's good. I'm interested to see where we keep going and what kind of quirky... Like, we're not going to finish this game with 3 bosses, right? It's not going to be Fat Man, Fortune, and Vamp. So, like, I'm interested to see what else gets introduced here.
I forgot to mention one thing that I do want to bring up is that other than Olga, there was one other character that made their little appearance through the codec when we were doing the defusal, and that was a character who... Yeah, was using that old call sign name and sounding like one Gray Fox the same way that he was in Metal Gear Solid 1. But we know what happened to Mr. Frank Yeager and how he is. Yeah, he is not of this planet anymore.
Pancake.
So, but somebody is using that name and is trying to and gave us advice. Obviously, after we try to call that line, if we try to call that line any other time it happens, it just has no response. But
at the very beginning, when it shows people going to this area, there's someone who comes out of a helicopter who looks awfully familiar.
Yeah, we're gonna get there, but yes, there is.
They said that character.
They did say Pliskin does tell us when he's telling us about Dead Cell that they do have a hardware expert with them, and that person does look awfully familiar. That's true.
All right.
Yeah, but were you done,
No,
Alex? Was that your?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have really too much to add other than I'm enjoying it. Very easy. Might have been a little too much, not far too much, too little for me to choose from, because it's just like that boss battle was nothing. I could just stand wherever I wanted to stand, shoot him from afar, wait for him to fall down, which is not the worst thing in the world, but like okay, well, kind of wish there was a little bit more to this, but it's that was my decision. It's whatever. I'll stick with it. But yeah, it's hey, I'm getting through it. I'm having absolutely no problems getting through this game. So
it's probably. So. I bet you this game's terribly balanced. It's probably the difference of like getting through it like you're doing it, or trying it like 7 times and getting frustrated about it. So
no, I think normal is fine. Like he takes it. If you do it the normal way on normal, like as far as the damage or whatever, it just takes 5 rotations. It's just knock him down.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like it still took me time to finish him, but like it's
Yeah, it's still not too bad.
Oh no, you said that about the last game too, and I played that game on normal, and there were a couple of fights I wanted to break a controller
sure.
over. So
Well, you know,
PS1 game, bro.
you're just bad at video games. There's nothing anybody can do about it. No, so this next part, so I really am trying to, like, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to try to say, so there's going to be a character that we are going to rescue at the end of this here, and once we get done with that entire cutscene of rescuing somebody, Campbell is going to call us, and at the end of some giant cutscene, he will tell us that we need to go and rescue somebody named Emma. And that is where we will, as soon as we, similar to this, as soon as we get done having that conversation with Campbell, we will save, and that will lead us into finishing the game.
It's Emma, right?
Emma. E-M-M-A. Yes. So Campbell will tell us, like I said, we will rescue somebody. A whole situation will happen once we have rescued that person. And at the end of that scene, with those characters in there, Campbell, you are going to leave the room that you have rescued somebody in.
Yeah.
And as soon as you leave that room, you're going to call Campbell. You're going to inform him of what happened with the character that you rescued. And he will tell you you need to go, and he'll end that by saying you need to go rescue Emma. And as soon as you get there, you can stop.
Okay.
And then that, like I said, then that next section will be us finishing it. So,
finishing the game.
yep,
No, all right. So it is
4
about
parts.
the same.
Yeah.
4 parts, just like last time. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, there's that. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. If you're playing along, hopefully you're enjoying it. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it in general. But yeah, I like it. I like it better than the first one so far. We'll see. As far as the gameplay, we'll see how the story turns out. But a console generation means a lot, and I'm looking forward to the next game we play.
Once we get done with these, I do, like, once we finish Revengeance, I do want us all to, like, rate, like,
ranking,
how we all of these, and I have a feeling, this is just my personal opinion, but
don't
I have
spoil.
a feeling. I'm not going to say, but what I'm saying is I have a feeling that all 3 of us, our list will probably be, like, extremely similar into which ones we put at the bottom and which ones we put at the top.
All right, cool. Well, join us next week. Don't forget, Preston is back on his Star Wars stuff on Sundays.
Sir.
So join him for that, and then we will be back next week with a new episode for you, and then part 3 of Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. And with that, Preston, you know what to do.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or to check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. If watching is more your thing, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@thetestingroom, or watch us live on twitch.tv/testingroomlive. To leave comments or ask questions, you can follow us on Instagram @testingroompod, leave a comment on YouTube, or send them in to testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.